Thank you for your dedication and your commitment to expanding access to primary care across the country. Now, it is my delight and pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening, Shali Oho, and to extend my sincere thanks to all of the presenters for tonight's event. I'd also like to thank the PC4AA Zoom committee, as well as John Wright, Patty Armstrong, and Liv Verity for organizing this event. So now I'll toss it off to Dolly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dolly Ojo, a family medicine resident at St. John's Episcopal Hospital in Far Rockaway, Queens, New York. I want to start by thanking you all for being here tonight. By joining us, you're helping to build a movement, one that focuses on providing healthcare to people in every neighborhood and community, primary care for all Americans. Please add your name and location in the chats because we want to organize tonight's activity. We'll explore how you can help bring primary care to everyone in your own neighborhood and community. As a quick reminder, we don't use professional titles here. This space is about working together and valuing the ideas and commitments that will drive this movement forward. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Pedja Stojicic. Dr. Pedja Stojicic is the Executive Director of People Power Health, a network of community organizers and trainers dedicated to bringing social movements and organizing skills to healthcare professionals, caregivers, and healers. He previously served as a project director at the Ripple Foundation, where he collaborated with organizations such as RWJF, CMS, Primary Care Progress, the Healthcare Anchor Network, and others to advance health system transformation. A lifelong activist, he currently serves on the advisory board of the Leading Change Network, one of the largest global networks of social movement leaders. Originally from Serbia, Dr. Stojicic led national health and civic initiatives as president of Youth of JASAS and Serbia on the Move. He holds an MPH from the Harvard T.A. Chan School of Public Health and a medical degree from Belgrade University. He now serves as adjunct faculty at the Harvard T.A. Chan School of Public Health, where he teaches courses on leadership and systems change. Take it away, Pedja.
Thank you, Dolly. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight and see you all. It's always interesting to listen to your own bio and kind of like reflect on it. But maybe as a way of checking in and starting this session, I wanted to ask everybody to unmute for a second and say hi, so we can actually hear each other's voices in this space, because I will invite you to maybe talk a little bit. So hello, good night. Let's hear it.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello from Maine.
That's amazing. It's always beautiful to hear the patchwork of voices and excitement that can bring, at least for me. So, as Dolly was mentioned, just a quick introduction about myself that is not in a bio. I am originally from Serbia, actually from Yugoslavia, to be quite specific. I was born and raised in Yugoslavia, in Belgrade, Yugoslavia. Sometimes I joke I changed 4 countries without ever moving. It was first Yugoslavia, then it was another Yugoslavia, then Serbia and Montenegro, and then eventually Serbia. And my introduction to this work, the reason why I do what I do right now, and kind of like is exciting and teach and train people on social movement skills and community organizing skills, was mostly out of necessity. I don't know if you remember, in the Balkans we had a civil war, and also in my hometown and country, Serbia, we had a dictator called Milosevic, and I was in a high school when that was happening, And we didn't know what to do. Serbia was under the UN sanctions, and part of the deal was like we have to deal with that if we want to have some freedom. So we organized a youth movement, which was quite fascinating to witness and participate. That eventually toppled Milosevic, despite all the challenges that we were facing. It was possible. And once you see that people power, the possibility of what is possible, you cannot unsee it. And that was my life journey. And in a way, medicine became too narrow for what is possible when you think about working with other people. And in that spirit, it was clear that the healing needs to happen beyond just the clinic. And if you live in a dictatorship, or if you live in a place that limits your opportunities, healing needs to happen in a society. And when I got an invitation from Michael and Catherine and others to join this session tonight, I was thinking about Primary Care for All Americans as a healing organization that is doing much more than just bringing primary care, but actually building communities and working with communities to work for them together in order to bring healing that we all need these days, I believe. So again, really, really grateful to be here. So let me dive into the session, and I'm gonna, the way it's gonna work, we're gonna have about 20 minutes in a conversation about what it takes to start a local chapter. And then once we go through that, we will have some time in the breakout rooms for you to discuss from your perspective what it takes to do that. Just give me 1 second to share my slides because I want you to see them. And people can tell me if they can see this. Can you see the slides right now? Sounds good? Okay. So what we are trying to accomplish here in the next little less than 20 minutes is I want to share some of the insights that I've gained over the years doing this work. And the three that stood out for me is that when you're trying to build a local group of any sort, work group or a chapter of an organization, or you're trying to build a whole organization in a place, there are three key lessons to that. The first one is that having a leadership team is the strongest predictor of success. I can with ultimate certainty now look at the groups and ask, like, is there a leadership team? Is there a group that is actually leading the work? If the answer is yes, chances of them being successful are almost 80% bigger than if there's no such thing and it's only one person or even two people. So that's the first one. The second one is that once you have the team, the key is to get that team into action, because the action is what fuels and bring more people. You can talk, you can discuss, those are all great things, you can kind of gain perspectives, but it's the action that brings values to life. It's the action that brings relationships that are becoming stronger. It's the action that brings more people into your work movement, work group, or whatever you're working on. And then the third piece is really, once people are in action, the main work is then like creating space and roles that other people can join, and you don't become a leadership island where you're gonna get stuck with just one team, but you start growing what we call a snowflake, and you will see in a second how that works. But let me ask you a question first. Like, it seems like this is the group that really care. People are acting. We're speaking out about primary care and the necessity of it. But why, what would it take? What do you think will take to actually build power for that change? Because I think this organization is also about building power, and I mean power as a capacity to do things. So what will it take to do that? Like, why is this not happening maybe at the scale that we want? And feel free to just unmute and speak up. What is your perspective? There's no right and wrong answer here. What do it take to build that power?
Time, passion, commitment.
Time, passion,
compelling
commitment. Great.
vision of a brighter future.
Compelling vision.
People.
It takes
People.
people.
It takes people. Okay.
Common knowledge.
Common knowledge. Well, a lot of creates a problem. And as a result of that problem, you don't have the change that is needed. And once you recognize that the power imbalance is not permanent, because sometimes we get stuck in this idea that it's impermanent, you start thinking that power is relational. If I have something that you need, who has the power? You can point like it's me. If you have something that I need, you have the power. So that means that power doesn't exist if it's not relational. And therefore, to build power means to build relationships, and usually it's a good idea to build them on a value basis. So, that's just like a little bit about power. But this is where it gets really interesting. Usually what happens in the groups and communities that have a need for something, and I would say like a lot of communities around the country have the need for high quality primary care because it's a real need for people. The fact that the groups are disorganized, that the people who are in that need, they're not organized, that's the reason that is blocking them from actually having that change. And there are certain characteristics of these disorganized groups, like apathy, sense of drift, reaction, lack of purpose. On the other side, when you have moments, and you can even witness that in your organization. I was talking to Pamela, who is leading one of the successful chapters that we will hear from. When you have actually organized people who have a sense of motivation, unity, purpose, initiative, that they are actually taking initiative and doing change, as you just named, that's the difference. Then you have capacity to do things. And the secret sauce here, the way to do that is by developing leadership capacity. And there are a lot of things here on the screen, like there's like how do you build a story, how do you build relationships, how do you can talk about the strategy and how to take action. But I want to focus us on teams, because when you start building a work group, the building a team is a critical piece of work. It's because you don't want to be a lone wolf. Like you don't want to be someone who is just like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm by myself. But in reality, it's because you want to actually increase your capacity to do it and be able to do it. I want to give you an example. This is really an interesting one. I worked for years now with the organization called VoteER that is helping people register to vote. And when I was talking to their founder, Alistair Martin, who is a physician from MGH and started the whole organization, he at some point told me, like, Pedja, like all these stuff that you were talking about, like building teams, I have data to show you to prove that. And I was like, what are you talking about? When they were working, like they have these badges that they share, and when they were asked individuals to do voter registration by themselves, they were on average registering 0.4 people. So it's not even a single person, like on average, like so it was really, really almost like he said, like it was when we saw that data, we were just like, is this even worth our time? But then he said, like, we put them in teams as I suggested that they should do. And all of a sudden, just because they were working in teams, it was 40.2. It's like 100 times more. Just because people started reinforcing each other, started working together, and started building that power that I'm talking about. So if you see this, like for those people who are kind of like, oh, what are we talking about? Teams, that's soft power, all of that. This is a hard data to show the difference between someone working as a lone wolf and someone working in team. It's a really huge difference, and you can see that across the board every time we work. But the question is, what kind of team? So let me ask you a question. When you look at this slide, what do you see on the left here? What do you see on the left side of the slide? There's like I'll take it all. Like anybody can describe that. Feel free to just jump in.
Like a micromanager sort of guy.
Yeah, we call that a dot.
A hero.
Hero. Have you ever been in a dot leadership situation, or you were a dot? I'm a recovering dot. It happened to me. Like so, I like. It's not nice. It's not nice for a person that is actually experiencing that. It's not nice for everybody around that person. It's a disaster. And usually, That's one of the ways teams are operating, unfortunately. On other side, what do you have on other side? Like on the right side, what do you see there?
Chaos.
Yes, like yeah, we go back to like because this first model is not functioning, people go pay, oh, let's everybody be a leader. Let's just do like the whole thing. And everybody being a leader means that nobody is. And usually it's achieving nothing because people are pulling in their own directions. And because of these two polarities, then we tend to go into the hierarchical structure. And there's a problem with hierarchical structure. It's efficient. You will achieve results. Like military is famous for that. You can do a lot of stuff with those types of structures. One could argue that medicine is structured hierarchically really, really deeply. But the problem is that if you're at the bottom of the hierarchy, you feel awful, and it doesn't actually give you that much satisfaction and joy and excitement. So when we talk about these leadership teams that you're trying to build, we're talking about interdependent structure, the structure that is recognizing that different people can work together in a different setting, in a different way, by having interdependence. And this is where it gets interesting, like in terms of stories. I wanna share before we move on to the second point here that I want to make. I want to share a story about and ask you a question. How many people do you think was leading Montgomery bus boycott? That's something from history of this country. How many people were leading Montgomery bus boycott? If you remember, that was civil rights movement won the big win of desegregating buses. Like how many people were on the leadership team? Any ideas?
10.
Them? How
I'm
many?
trying to think. It was the Southern Christian Leadership Team, and my sense is that it was a big organization.
The organization was big, but the leadership team was not big. Any ideas? 7 people. 7 people. What about Chicano movement in California? How many people there? Like Cesar Chavez and others.
I remember Cesar Chavez, that's it.
Yeah, Cesar, Dolores. Again, I think it was 9 there, maybe. Serbia, when we were toppling dictator, leadership team 11. So you see how these things are operating. You think about, oh, we need people jump to idea like we need a lot of people. Yes, you need a lot of people eventually, but initially we are talking about 5 to 10 people that needs to start a chapter or start this work. And I want to make a case here that the journey from 1 or 2 to 5 or 7 or 10 to that leadership team is probably the longest journey in organizing. That's the most difficult one. You know, people think that, oh, that's easy. We can get 10 people easily. Yes, you can get 10 people to join something, but can you get 10 people to actually commit to be on a leadership team? That's a whole different story. And that's why, you know, you have to pay attention to that because that really, really matters. But if you are interested in starting a work group, I will spend a lot of time thinking about how do we get that core leadership team to start working, because if that is functioning, then we can topple a dictator, change the history of the civil rights movement, or we can lead a farm worker union in California among farm workers who didn't have a lot of resources. Or you can look around the world, and it's always going to be the same story with these movement structures. So once you have that team, then the question is like, what do you do with the team? And the second point here is getting team into action is critical one. Because if team keeps getting together without taking action, chances are it will never grow. Because campaigns and action, you know, taking that first step, that winnable goal or something to do, is there to build relationships, to build connections. And it's the way the change operates, the way you can kind of build change. And people tend to kind of like see, oh, we need to spend some discussing the strategy and stuff like that. None of that is going to build excitement. The thing that is going to build excitement is people taking action, doing something. Because people are, when they join the team and when they really want to commit to something, They are hungry for doing something and doing something together. And finding that first step, finding the thing that they can do, that they can work on, is far better than actually spending like days and weeks and months in strategizing. I can give you from my own experience, like when we were starting one of these organizations, Serbia on the Move, we gathered a team of 15 people. And then we said, like, well, it's a big challenge. We wanted to kind of like increase democratic capacity in Serbia. It's a big challenge. Let's start discussing what's going to happen. And then we started the discussions, and we were meeting every week, and we discussed like what can be our strategy and stuff like that. And week by week, we started losing people because it got more conceptual, more debatable. People were starting to say, I don't know if this is for me. We're just meeting and talking. There's nothing. And at some point, I remember one of my colleagues said, like, look, this has to stop because we are bleeding people every time we meet. Let's take action. And we agreed in one meeting, let's take corruption in Serbia, corruption in healthcare. That was a big topic. Let's dive and do something about that and stop talking about all these issues that are important. And we started taking a campaign, started taking action. The team went from 15 to 7, but within a year, we grow the biggest organization, the biggest physician organization in the country at the time, of people who raised their hand, like about 5,000 physicians who raised their hand to say, like, we are not going to tolerate corruption in healthcare, and we're going to do something about it. And if you look at the news from Serbia these days, you will hear about the big student movement, and also another movement called Kreni Promeni, which is like Move Do. That's the name of the organization. The people we trained in that first campaign are currently leading that movement. So it's kind of like interesting how that works, because if we were just talking and continue talking, it would never be translated into something that exists right now. So finding that first step, first action that you can take is the second critical lesson, like going from a zero to a team, then taking action. And then finally, once you start taking action, you will have the problem of scale. And the problem of scale is like people will come to you and they will say, we want to join. And finding the roles for them, figuring out how to build different task forces, groups, opportunities for people to join you is the third lesson of building a chapter. So if you think about the first lesson, build a team. Second lesson, find a tangible action and take it and do it. And the third lesson, the moment you start taking action, people will start approaching you, asking, can we join? And once they ask that, they need a role. If you don't give them a meaningful role, chances are that they will get excited and disappear. And think about your own experience, because if you join something and you don't get a role for within a couple of weeks, you will probably say, like, this is not worth of my time. I'm not meaningfully contributed. Because believe it or not, people are interested in meaningfully contributing to different things that they're doing. So I can talk forever about these things, but wanted to invite one of your own, Pamela, if you would like to talk about, from your experience, just even seeing this presentation, you're seeing it for the first time, from your experience actually building a chapter, what it takes to do it, and does any of this resonate with you and your experience of doing it? So I will stop sharing and invite you to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, last slide definitely relates to what we've seen transpire with the New Bedford local work group. We've been, in action since September of last year. We started with a very small group. And in the beginning, it was discussions, and those discussions revolve really for the first couple of meetings is when can we meet? What's a good time to meet? What's a good day to meet? Because you want to get some kind of consensus to get them to the table. Then we work together on a 5-year work plan.
Yeah.
And that 5-year work plan had very simple objectives, because I felt that you get a lot more bang for your buck if you can get them, as you said, into actionable steps that they can achieve.
Yeah.
And, we had the first year and what we wanted to accomplish. And then, there were people that said, I like to work on that because you want the passion. You want people to work on something that they're really interested and committed to work on, or it's going to fail. And somebody else said, I'd like to work on this part of the work plan, which is education. So we have, a group of other people that have branched off, and that's what they're working at. And I always say to them at the meetings, I'm the orchestra leader, and you all play a different instrument. And the orchestra leader just kind of makes the music by, waving the wand and saying, okay, you go do that, you go do this, and then they go off and then they bring it back to the full group. And it seems to be working for us.
Yeah. And Pam, can I ask you about like growth? You said something in our previous conversation. Are you growing? Are you getting bigger or not?
Yeah, we are. I started with a group of 10 people that I knew in the community and that they knew me. So I think there was a level of trust. Okay, let's see what PM's doing now because she's always doing something. So then, every meeting I'd say, okay, who's not here? Who do you feel that's in the community that could give added meaning to the group? And I'd ask them to bring a name to me, and then I would reach out to them. So the group over the months has grown to about 45 members. Now, not all 45 members meet every meeting because they all have work schedules and busy lives. But what I'm finding right now, Pedja, that's very interesting. We've got so much going on, and there's certain people that have not been able to attend meeting. So today alone, I must have had 5 emails that said, PM, can we discuss maybe bringing to the group another time? I have kids I got to get on the school bus. I've got to get this one to practice. So maybe 7:30 in the morning isn't working anymore. So that tells me they want to be engaged and they want to see if we can change to accommodate their interests. And I think that's a real positive thing.
Yeah. And as I said, like people are in search for meaningful roles. I mean, Pam, that is amazing. That's a wonderful story. And like you can see the pattern. Like, you start a team usually with people who are kind of like around you, then that team becomes interested in taking action. Sometimes action can be like it seems like you use the work plan as a source of action, like building that work plan and then finding things that people can do. And then once you start doing that, then it starts to snowball and grow because people will come to you and you will give them meaningful work. And giving people roles is how you grow that snowflake and then the structure that is out there. Amazing example. So we're gonna get into before how are we doing on time? Let me ask Patty or yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I think this is the right time to hop into some groups. So you ready for
Wonderful.
me to sort of explain what we're going to do next?
Yeah, happy to do that. I'm putting this question here so we can also see that. Yeah, but let's dive into the small groups, and then when we come back, we'll have a chance for a little Q&A and reflection on what happened there.
Wonderful. So if you guys want to take a look at this question here, and then we're going to explain how the breakout rooms are going to work for us. So as we've been encouraged to this evening, we don't just want to be talking about things, we want to be taking action. And so the best way we thought to do that was to break out by the different regions or areas that most of us are in, which is why we appreciate so many of you putting in the chat where you are from. That helped us to sort of figure out where people are going to be. So we will have 5 different rooms that you can join. If you are from Massachusetts, you can hop in the Massachusetts room. If you are from Rhode Island, there will be a room just for you. If you are mid-Atlantic, so anywhere on the East Coast that is not specifically Massachusetts or Rhode Island, join the Mid-Atlantic group. And then we have a lot of people who are joining us from the Rockies to the West Coast. And so on the West side, we will have a group joining from there as well. If you have questions on where you should go John and I will be here to help guide you into rooms. And we might have a catch-all group for, people who are sort of in those other spots of the world. But make sure that you have this question with you. And John, are you ready to open up our breakout rooms?
Yes, I'm ready to roll.
All right. So if you can launch those, there should be something that pops up in the middle of your screen or at the bottom of your screen that says more, and it'll say join a breakout room. My ex-brother-in-law was like, Canada needs a win. I was like, really? This is what we're going for, but hey.
I think it's mostly the LA doesn't.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, welcome back. Oh, wonderful. Like so many faces coming back, which means that people were on screens like when they were in the small groups. Let's do some what are your takeaways from this conversation? And since we only have a few minutes left, like what questions you might have based on either what I presented, what you've heard from Pamela, or what you've discussed in the small groups.
I'll just go very quickly. In my group, we had a lot of interesting people, but most of the people in my room were working more on the state level. So it was just Pat and me who've really done local work groups. So I think that for anybody who maybe be more interested in state policy or that sort of thing, you still need to know about local work groups because that's the core of what PC4A does. And you need to be able to, as you encounter people in your work, encourage them to start a local work group and be able to give them some encouragement and some clues about how to start.
Yeah. Margaret, I also wanna use this opportunity to challenge people, even people who are working at the state level, they live somewhere. So I want to invite the people at the state level to think about, well, maybe the times are such that we need to get at the local level and do the state level while we are doing the local work groups. So yeah, just a thing to think about. What other comments or questions people have?
Yeah, I want to say this. I was in a breakout room for Rockies and West Coast, and I have met every single one of the people in there through either PC4AA or Healthcare Reinvention Collaborative in the last 18 months. There's a lot going on. I really liked your presentation. I think it belongs in a library of resources for PC4AA. And I'm echoing Jay Submaranian about that. The report from New Bedford probably also belongs in a library of resources.
Thank you for that, Paul. That's exciting to hear, and I'm happy to hear that it resonated, and that it has value. That's
very good.
It came from experience, so that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions? Let's use this time for also questions or comments.
Are there any like deeper dives or videos or workshops that you've given that are, on YouTube or Vimeo or somewhere to kind of build off of what you shared? Because that was great, but would love more detail and, insights.
Dave, by the way, it's good to see you. We haven't seen each other for quite a long time, and now I'm realizing that, when I've heard you speak that's yes, we are the part of the collaboration here is between People Power Health and Primary Care for All Americans. But we started the Courageous Clinicians community that I think we're discussing how to make that available, which has a bunch of resources like trainings and stuff like that that is online accessible. So I think we're going to figure out how to make that available for everyone who's interested or building these work groups in the next period. And yes, and yeah, there's a bunch of stuff there. I can definitely send things out what's available online. There's a lot of different good things. One thing that I know was created a little long time ago, but it's extremely useful. You can type in Google Resistance School. It was produced at the Kennedy School at the time when President Trump was elected for the first time. It was mostly used to kind of resist that, but the uh, it's really useful because it's beyond that. Like it's something that can be used for training of people just when you are interested in community organizing in general. It doesn't have to be like political or partisan in that way. But there's a really good high quality videos that are out there on YouTube that you can find.
And
Pat, go
are
ahead.
you like there's some local like conversion foundations and stuff that I've been engaging with. Are you or some folks available to, on a consulting basis or like if they're willing to fund more, guided workshops and things like that beyond, I mean, obviously we still need to do the local organizing, but
Yeah.
just wondering if those types of services are available.
We do training. I'm like, well, we can talk about that offline. I'm not a big fan of kind of like one-off trainings. Like I really when we do look like long-term engagements. Like the if you know the Highlander Center, like in the South, there
Yeah.
was, I we are trying to build a similar model, like deep accompaniment of the organizations and people that goes for a longer period of time, not like coming in and out. I always felt that's somewhat useful, but not actually that effective. And
Yeah,
to
no,
actually build capacity
Miles
in
Horton is a hero of mine. So
yes, like I have the long haul as a book, as a
yeah.
Bible for so many things. Anyway, happy to talk to you, Dave, more
Okay.
more about that. Pat, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if I could get some feedback. If anybody who's actually looked at, read, or hopefully used the playbook to create a local work group. We put a lot of work into this last year, and I just wonder what kind of impact it's having. Anybody put up your hand if you've seen it, read it, or used it to help organize locally?
Oh, we have a lot of fans, Pat.
Yeah, well, if anyone who hasn't, please go on the website, pull it up, skim through it, print out the executive summary, pass it out at your next meeting. Take advantage of the work we did to try to put this together as a tool.
Amazing. That's
And that actually dovetails pretty neatly into the conversation we had in the Massachusetts work group, plus Scott Hansen from Maine, that we talked about like that second step of finding something to take action on together. I found myself pulling from that sort of first suggested step from the local play group of putting together the primary care report. I mean, especially inspired by what New Bedford has just done, realizing that even with really good data from the Center for Health Information and Analysis at the Massachusetts state level. We don't know how many people live, three of us are from Cambridge, how many people live in Cambridge and how many primary care clinicians there are and how many people are having trouble finding clinicians to care for them. And I'm pretty sure it's knowable, but the fact that it's not compiled is like, I don't know. I want to figure that out and I want to figure it out together. So it was neat to think what can we take action on to like guide our next steps and realize, this is bubbling up from reading the local play group when I first playbook when I first joined.
amazing. That's really cool. Well, I know we have to wrap up. I really want to thank you all for listening, and I hope this was useful. You're not gonna get rid of me that easily. I'm gonna stick with the primary care for all Americans because I do really believe that what you're doing is so amazing and so important in not just this moment in time, but in any given moment in time. And that yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions or continue the conversation after this. So, Patty, back to you.
Pedja, thank you so much just for your conversation, your insights. I really want to encourage everyone to stay connected. Dolly and I are each going to give you a couple of ways to do that. I'm going to encourage you to connect with us on social media, right? This is a great way, a great tool for building community, but also knowing where your resources are at. Every little bit of engagement, liking, commenting, sharing, reposting, all of those things help to build this movement and keep raising awareness of our mission. So please go do that. We will have upcoming events. We will have things that we make sure that you know about as a team. I am actually copying the link here just to make it a little easier for everyone. In the chat, you can find all of our social media channels, clips from events like this one where experts and we can come together as community to build a movement, connect with like-minded people, and build a healthcare system that serves people and not profit. So follow us to continue to be part of change. I challenge you to find a person to share just a little bit of what's going on. But with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dolly, who's going to tell you what's coming up next. Dolly?
Yes. Thank you everyone again for joining us tonight. As a reminder, in 2 weeks, we're meeting again. We encourage you to invite someone next time to get involved in this movement. Mark your calendars for November 18th, where we'll be hearing from Dr. Jeffrey Geller. We look forward to seeing you then and there. You can register on our website, www.primarycareforallamericans.org, where you can also check our local and state playbook, volunteer, and donate to support our cause. Thank you again to Pedja and our facilitators, and thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening.